So, you have chosen to come back and face the catacombs when you could have escaped. I admit I am surprised. You are either a complete idiot or vain enough to think yourself invincible.
And you are far wiser, I suppose, to leave a maiden to die? To not fight this plague on your own people?
Bravery and suicide are two different things, human. You will have a chance to renounce your choice soon enough, when you lay trembling under the Minotaur's hooves.
We shall see. Thanks for the escort.
We only escort you to your death. May the fates make it quick so that you do not have to scream long.
The catacomb's entrance door is locked from the outside by the Winged One's guards. It seems that leaving the catacombs by that door is not an option. Alexander is standing in the catacombs near the portal to the outside world. Unfortunately, the portal is locked. The cell-like rooms of the catacombs hold their tongues and do not reveal their secrets. Alexander sees nothing of interest here. It just looks like every other stone surface in the catacombs to Alexander. The floor of the catacombs, like the walls, is comprised of massive stone tiles. It feels cold and hard beneath Alexander's feet. The floor chooses not to give Alexander the scoop as to its secrets, if any. Alexander sees nothing of interest on the floor. The walls of the catacombs are made of massive stone tiles. That's the north wall of the room. The walls do not respond. The walls of the catacombs are rough and cold to the touch. The main door to the catacombs leads to the outside world. Unfortunately, it's locked. The door is not up for conversation. The door is locked, and Alexander can't force his way out. He'll need to conquer the maze-like catacombs to escape. A torch flickers on the wall and casts shadows on the dank stones of the catacombs. The torch is too high to reach. Besides, carrying around the heavy blazing torch would only slow Alexander down. Niches in the wall form stone burial beds. Ancient bones lie crumbling on the unyielding rock. The occupant of the stone bed is beyond the reach of Alexander's voice. Alexander examines the stone shelf and the ancient bones, but finds nothing except the dust of the grave. All of the doorways in the catacombs look alike, giving Alexander no clue as to their order or purpose. Perhaps Alexander should determine what's on the other side of the doorway before calling through it. The doorway is unobstructed and requires no manipulation. Just walk through it. The remains of several unfortunate souls haunt the room. These bones seem more recent than the ancient catacomb bones that Alexander has seen so far. Perhaps they were victims of the Minotaur, or perhaps they died while wandering lost in the maze. 3 of the skeletons are completely intact. The lost souls cannot hear Alexander. Alexander doesn't want to disturb that skeleton. He seems to have all his bones intact, and it'd be a shame to break up the set. A lone skull lies on the ground among the skeletons. Where the skull came from is a mystery, since the other remains seem to have their skulls intact. Those jawbones have long been silent. Alexander picks up the skull. Alexander is standing in a room with a tiled floor. Except for the tiles directly in front of the doors, each tile bears an engraving. Alexander has the feeling that the unique floor isn't merely decorative. The strange room refuses to reveal anything about its function. Alexander had better be careful about poking around indiscriminately in this room. An image of a rose has been carved into that tile. A carving of a scythe adorns that tile. That tile bears an engraving of a crown. That tile bears the image of a dove. That tile is engraved with a skull and crossbones. The tiles will not give up their secrets so easily. Alexander can see nothing to do with the tiles except to walk on them and hope for the best.
You are human only and not the monster himself. I heard you coming and thought you were the beast. Did my father send you here to save me?
Why, yes, he did, but how did you...
Hush, there is no time. I think I have discovered the Minotaur's secret exit from the Catacombs. Follow me and we'll both be saved.
Alexander hears the distant sounds of a wild animal somewhere in the maze of rooms. An old wooden shield hangs on the wall. Alexander takes the shield from the wall. Niches in the wall form stone burial beds. Ancient bones lie crumbling on the unyielding rock. Alexander notices that this skeleton has old coins over its eyes. Alexander finds 2 coins on the skeleton's eyes. He takes the old coins. Alexander hears a low growling, so faint as to seem born of his fired imagination rather than of any living creature. The doors have sealed Alexander inside. And the ceiling is coming down. Alexander is standing in a trap room with a crushing ceiling, and the ceiling is descending fast.
Hello? Is anybody out there? Help me! Please!
There is no reply, only the noisy clanking of the gears. There's nothing to do there that will help Alexander's predicament. The ceiling is grinding down with methodical determination, heedless of the human in its path. The gears are working furiously to lower the ceiling. Their great cogs interlock perfectly. Both exits from this room have been sealed shut by sliding panels. Alexander is trapped. The shield is too large to fit in those gears. Small speckles of sand stand out against the otherwise gray brick. The brick feels very heavy and solid in Alexander's hand. The brick is already heavy enough to carry around without playing with it. In a desperate move, Alexander throws a brick into the grinding gears. The brick is caught between two cogs. The gears shriek and shudder. The mechanism grinds to a halt. The ceiling is stuck. The trap is sprung. Alexander is standing in a trap room with a crushing ceiling. The mechanism that lowers the ceiling has been stopped, and the trap room now stands open. The room is empty. Even the gears are silent. Alexander doesn't want to mess around in this trap room now that he's free to go. The floor in this room looks like every other floor in the catacombs. It's made of solid rock. The ceiling is stuck in its path by the brick that Alexander threw into the gears. The gears have been permanently stopped by the brick. The brick has wedged tightly between two cogs, thus immobilizing the gears. The brick can't speak, but if it could, it would probably complain about being stuck in the gears. Even if Alexander wanted to retrieve the brick, he'd be unable to get it out of the cogs now. It's tightly wedged in place. The exits stand open now that the crushing ceiling has been jammed. Somewhere, far off into the catacombs, the sounds of hooves faintly echo.
Sounds! A trap floor!
Alexander seems to have fallen to a lower level of the catacombs. Wherever he is, the place sure is dark. Alexander can't even see his hand in front of his face. Alexander can see nothing in the darkness.
Is anybody there?
There is no reply from the darkness. Alexander can't do anything in the room until he can see. The pawn shop's tinderbox is slightly battered, but in reasonably good shape. The tinderbox contains a candle, as well as some flint and tinder. It feels exactly like a tinderbox. Alexander takes the candle from his tinderbox and uses the flint in the box to light it.
Aha! So that's why it's dark in here. A torch is out.
Alexander lights the extinguished torch and puts his tinderbox away. Alexander is standing in a dead-end room in the catacombs. A tapestry hangs on the east wall, and the only exit lies to the south. A very beautiful, very dusty tapestry hangs on the wall. The tapestry weaves its tale in silence. Alexander does not see anything unusual about or under that tapestry, and the tapestry itself is much too heavy to take. Alexander hears the distant sounds of a wild animal somewhere in the maze of rooms. Alexander hears the sound of a wild beast again, this time so loud that the creature itself seems to be in the same room with him. The noises are coming from the other side of the east wall. This room forms a cul-de-sac with the dead-end wall to the east. The sounds came from behind the dead-end wall. The cell-like rooms of the catacombs hold their tongues and do not reveal their secrets. Alexander examines the wall closely, but sees only a solid rock wall. Alexander puts the hole in the wall on the east wall. The hole in the wall trembles slightly with dread at the clammy feeling of the stones. Alexander peers through the hole in the wall and sees just another room in the catacombs. Aha! Not just another room at all. So that's why Alexander couldn't find the Minotaur's lair. At least Alexander now knows the lair exists, somewhere in the maze on the other side of this wall. While Alexander contemplates what he's just seen, the hole in the wall, frightened by the Minotaur, makes a run for it. Alexander hopes the little creature finds its way home to the Isle of Wonder. Alexander examines the wall closely, but sees only a solid rock wall.
This tapestry looks familiar. Now let's see. I don't feel anything. Aha! A hidden latch.
Alexander triggers the little latch. A secret door rolls open. The secret door to the Minotaur's lair is open. Calling through open doorways in the catacombs is probably not a good idea, especially not when that door leads to the Minotaur's lair.
Your struggles are useless.
It's the Minotaur, and he's struggling with a Winged One's girl. She must be Lady Celeste. Alexander has found the Minotaur's lair. The chamber has the rank smell of a beast's den, but a strange altar testifies to the Minotaur's evil intelligence. A monstrous altar towers in one corner of the room. Alexander shudders with revulsion at the thought of the rituals performed at that sacrificial table. A pit has caved in the floor in one corner of the Minotaur's lair. Flames rise from the pit as though from the throat of a dragon trapped in the earth. The fire makes the lair unbearably hot. There's a doorway on the east wall of the lair. Perhaps it's another exit from the catacombs. The minotaur is a huge, monstrous beast with cloven hooves and the head of a bull. A beautiful winged one girl is struggling for her life against the minotaur.
Excuse me. I demand the release of that maiden this instant, you fiend.
Lady Celeste looks wildly around the room for the source of the strange voice and spots Alexander.
You there, human! Help me! Help!
Who dares enter my lair?
I ask you to release your captive or suffer the consequences.
Never. You die, human.
As the minotaur advances in attack, Alexander slowly backs away. Until he can back away no more.
Now where to, little man?
Wouldn't you like to let the girl and I go?
Don't be a fool.
I'll take care of the minotaur, milady. Have no fear.
The scarf is made of red silk. The silky red scarf would not make a very good accessory for Alexander's wardrobe. Alexander, his back inches from the fiery pit, tempts the minotaur with the Red Queen's scarf.
Look here, you bully! Nice, bright red.
Red. Now you die!
The minotaur drops from sight amidst the consuming flames. Slowly, his scream fades as well.
Have you been harmed, Lady Celeste? Are you all right?
No, I am not all right. I assume you do not intend to leave me tied up on this vile monstrosity.
Of course not. Sorry, let's see. If you'll give me a moment, I'll have these untied in no time.
I can't wait that long. Look, I wear a small dagger just inside my belt. It should be enough to cut the rope.
Oh, all right. I've got it, Lady Celeste. Here we go.
Thank you. You may keep the dagger as a gift for saving my life.
That's very generous.
Forget it. Do you mind if we just get out of here now?
The Winged One's guards, bored with the pointless waiting, are startled by the sound of rock moving against rock.
Lady Celeste, bide thee well.
I'm quite well, thanks to the bravery of a mere human. So much for your superior intellects.
Yes, milady.
Now bring him along. I'm going home.
I see you have proven yourself the hero of the prophecy. Well, I am expected to thank you for saving my daughter's life, so I thank you. I am obliged to thank you for the restoration of our sacred catacombs. It means much to our people. We have already begun the process of clearing the deadly traps from its rooms. It is also my duty to grant you a visit with the Oracle, so this I do. I will grant you the freedom to leave here unharmed, despite my orders to the contrary from the Crown. But there, my obligations to you end. I have no love for Alhazred, but he is my liege, and if Princess Cassima trusts him and wishes to wed him, my guards will take you to the Oracle now. When your time with her is through, I want you to leave the City of the Winged Ones and never return. I don't know who you are or what you want here, but I will not disobey my crown further.
I thank you, Lord Azure. I will respect your wishes.
Hail to thee, great oracle! Lord Azure sends you this wingless mail. It appears that he solved the cliffs of logic and...
defeated the minotaur in his lair. So I have seen. So this is the one that haunts my pool of late. Welcome, young seeker. What knowledge do you desire?
Princess Cassima, whatever you can tell me, great oracle.
Ah, of course, the princess. That explains my images. Let us see what we can see. I see a maiden, lovely and pure, but surrounded by evil. She is a rose set amidst bitter thorns. It is her fate to be the pawn of dark powers, and yours to try to redeem her.
How? How do I redeem her?
Fate is not like the cut of a blade, young one, but rather like the myriad of paths formed when a hammer cracks ice. I will tell you what I can, but what will actually come to pass is up to you. I see that any attempt to reach the girl will force you into battle, a struggle against a dark force. If you lose, your life will be forfeit.
Who must I fight?
A great darkness surrounds your adversary, preventing me from seeing clearly. I can only make out the shape of a black cloak. But before this final struggle, I see an infiltration, a dangerous game of hide-and-seek in corridors filled with enemies. The risks are high, but it is the only way to reach the one you seek. There is more than one way into this place. Your choice will dictate much.
What else do you see, mighty oracle?
Oh, such pain. I see two restless spirits crying out for revenge. These shades could help you destroy the dark force if they were to be brought back from their spiritual form. Yet this is only one possible path to your destiny. I'm afraid this is getting beyond me. I know very little about the afterlife. I can only advise getting counsel from the druids. Be warned. The druids are reclusive and dangerous. They might aid you, or they might destroy you. Like their island, the druid's nature is hidden in the mists. There is nothing more I can do for you, except to give you this. It is water from the sacred pool. That and my blessing go with you.
Thank you, great oracle.
Alexander arrives at the top of the cliffs, somewhat winded after his long but uneventful climb. Alexander is standing at the top of the cliffs of logic on the Isle of the Sacred Mountain. To the north, the peak of the sacred mountain, scarred with the opening to the oracle's cave, rises to the clouds. To the left, the doors to the catacombs stand open. The doors to the catacombs have been flung open now that the minotaur is dead. Alexander has no wish to shut the newly opened doors of the catacombs. The boulder that hid the minotaur's secret entrance has been pushed aside now that the catacombs lie open. The minotaur's lair, now empty, still reeks with the foul stench of the minotaur. The doorway leads to the minotaur's secret exit, the outside world, and fresh air. The skull of some large and unknown beast guards the east exit. Alexander can't reach the animal skull. Besides, he doesn't want to touch the foul thing. Alexander doesn't want to touch the hideous altar. Ouch! That fire looks a trifle hot to warm one's hands over. There's a natural opening in the rock near the nightshade bush. Alexander would feel a bit foolish talking to the opening in the rock. Alexander finds himself in a dark cave. Alexander can't see much of anything in the dark cave.
Hello? Is anyone here?
There's no response from the darkness. Since it's so dark, Alexander can't do much inside the cave. Alexander takes the candle from his tinderbox and uses the flint in the box to light it. Alexander is standing in a rocky cave. The dim light of the tinderbox candle reveals a dank, musty place. But then Alexander's nose told him that much without the light. Other than a few bats, there doesn't seem to be anyone in the cave to converse with. Alexander sees nothing to do with the rocky walls of the cave. On the wall opposite the cliffs is the vague outline of another opening in the rock. Alexander crawls through the opening in the rock. The lighting in this part of the cave is better. Alexander extinguishes the candle's flame and places it back in his pack. Alexander is standing in a second room of the cave. A natural window to the outside world provides a little more light here, and even helps clear the musty smell. The floor of the cave is covered with a fine, dusty dirt. A natural window-like opening in the rock provides a view to the outside world. A peppermint plant grows on the window's ledge. The window in the rock is too small for Alexander to fit through. A plant grows on the grassy ledge. Smells like peppermint. Alexander takes a few leaves from the plant. As he does so, a strong smell of peppermint is released. Ah! Alexander already took some peppermint leaves. Dead end. Nothing that way. Alexander crawls back into the first room of the cave. Alexander can't see a thing. Alexander crawls back through the passage to the top of the cliffs. Alexander is standing in front of the gates to the city of the Winged Ones. The city entrance is accented with huge marble pillars and an ornate marble gate. Beyond the gate, Alexander can barely make out a community of nests atop large pillars. The peak of the mountain that makes up the Isle of the Sacred Mountain towers above the city. Two extremely handsome and athletic-looking young men with large white wings are standing guard in front of the city gates. If Alexander wishes to speak with anyone here, he might address the Winged One's guards. The Winged One's guards would not appreciate Alexander poking around outside their city gates. An imposing marble gate blocks the path north. Beyond the gates is a strange city made of nests atop tall pillars. No one in the city could hear Alexander from here. The palace nest, as befits its status, is taller than the other nests in the city. Rearing tall behind the city is the peak of the Sacred Mountain. The oracle's cave is gashed into the face of the mountain like a wound. The Winged One's guards are perfect specimens, tall and straight, regally formed. Their wings are thickly muscled and incredibly strong, like the legs of a thoroughbred horse. But their faces, however handsome, reflect a certain cold haughtiness.
Greetings, guards of the city of the Winged Ones. Would you be able to take me back to the city, or perhaps the Oracle?
Lord Azure asked you not to return, and you agreed. Dare you break your word?
No. I suppose not. Sorry. Are you sure I can't revisit the city?
You are not welcome here, human. Be gone!
The cold attitude of the guards makes Alexander reluctant to touch them, however tempting the sheen of their beautiful wings might be.
Would you have any interest in this?
We have no interest in anything of yours, human.
Alexander climbs carefully down the long face of the Logic Cliffs. Oh no! Alexander loses his balance.
Whoa! 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 Ow! Hey!
Alexander pulls out his magic map. Another island has appeared on the magic map. Alexander wonders if it has anything to do with the oracle's reference to the Druids. Alexander feels a strange pulling sensation. From the northeast come the sounds of mysterious drums and chanting. Alexander is standing on the beach of a shrouded island. From here, two paths lead into the island, one to the northwest and one to the northeast. Weird, gnarled trees and rolling mists add to the island's eerie atmosphere. The thick mist on the island dampens all sounds. Alexander's voice dies away shortly after leaving his lips. There is no reply. The ocean is only visible for a few feet before it becomes shrouded in mist. The island's trees are gnarled and eerie-looking. Grayish moss growing fervently in the damp, sun-blocking mist coats the tree's knobby branches. The only response Alexander gets from the tree is a slight shivering of its branches in the wind. Alexander gets an uneasy feeling just thinking about touching the gnarled, moss-covered trees. Mysterious-looking volcanic rocks dot this island. One of the paths inland branches off to the northwest. From the east come the sounds of mysterious drums and chanting. Alexander is standing in a small village. Arranged around him in a circle are houses built into the hollows of huge trees. In the center of the village is a fire pit. Two paths end at a clearing here. A path to the south leads back to the beach, and a path to the east leads inland. Around the clearing is a village of tree houses. A grove of giant trees has been hollowed out to make houses. The trees look cozy and dry, if a bit primitive for Alexander's tastes. Steps lead up to the treehouse's entrance. The steps are sheltered by a worn animal hide. As Alexander peers into the dark entryway, he can make out a well-bolted wooden door. The village appears to be deserted. There's no one here to talk to.
Hello? Is anyone home?
There's no reply. Either nobody's home or the residents aren't in the mood for visitors. The tree houses look a bit too dignified for climbing. The doors to the tree houses are bolted, and Alexander doesn't want to intrude into the private dwellings uninvited. A horned animal skull is on display in the center of the village. Based on its central location, it may perhaps serve as ceremonial protection against danger. Alexander can think of less desirable things to carry around than that animal skull, but not many. He decides to leave it alone. A communal fire pit occupies a place of honor in the center of the little village. The fire pit, naturally enough, contains coal. The coals are cold. That's odd, because Alexander definitely smells the smoke of an open fire close by. The fire pit is as silent as it is cold. Alexander reaches into the fire pit and takes a lump of coal. Alexander has already taken one lump of coal from the pit. He ought to leave the rest for the inhabitants of the tree village. From the east come the sounds of mysterious drums and chanting. A bearskin hangs on the trunk of one of the tree houses. The coarse brown fur looks warm, if a bit flea-bitten. Alexander's adventures are keeping him quite warm enough as it is. He has no need for the bearskin. A wooden-handled scythe hangs against a bearskin on one of the tree houses. Alexander takes the scythe. From the northeast come the sounds of mysterious drums and chanting. Alexander pulls out his magic map. Alexander feels a strange pulling sensation. The otherwise plain wooden shield is embellished with a silver cross. The wooden shield feels strong and sturdy. Alexander decides to pass through the gate, preparing the shield just in case. The magic arrow completely shatters the shield. Good thing the arrow didn't hit Alexander. The archer's bow is empty, his lone arrow spent.
Sorry about that arrow, friend.
The stone archer looks resigned and does not reply. There is no reason to bother the stone archer now. His arrow is gone. Alexander walks forward to step onto the gazebo. But the rose hedges on either side of the path, sensing an intruder's presence, reach out their vines and blend together. The path is blocked. The hedges have grown magically together to block the path north.
Open, I say!
The roses seem impervious to Alexander's commands. The hedge over the path is covered with thorns, and its vines are thick and strong. Alexander cannot part the hedge with his hands. Alexander takes a magnificent white rose from the rose hedges. The scythe has a long curved blade and a wooden handle. The scythe feels heavy in Alexander's hands. Alexander wields the scythe, determined to get past the magical rose hedges. The leaves fly as Alexander tries to cut the branches faster than they can grow back together. He sees light. He's through.
Who dares enter Beast's garden?
My name is Alexander. I didn't mean to disturb your private garden.
No. And yet, monsieur, you could hardly have accidentally broken through the 3 enchanted traps of the Isle of the Beast.
I suppose it is simply my nature to break through enchanted traps.
You must be a prince, then. I know the nature of princes all too well. This face you see before you is hideous, is it not?
Well, for the face of a beast, it is really quite noble.
Ha! I'm glad you like it, for you will soon own one just like it. I too was once a pretty prince, caring for nothing but adventuring and rescuing fair maidens. But I rankled one too many evil hags. One dark night, I was turned into this obscenity you see before you, warped in shape and trapped on this enchanted island over 100 years ago.
Surely there is a way off this island.
Oh, surely. You broke in, did you not? And yet think, where would I go clad so eloquently as I am with this silk and this pelt? You see, my prison is also my sanctuary. You are the first to break through the barriers in lo these many years. That is, except for the druids who stole my heirloom coat of arms.
If there's any way I can help.
Help? You? I'm afraid you don't understand. The enchanted barriers were a warning and protection for you more than for me. Your prize for forcing your way past them is to join me in this dire life. By the laws of this sorcery, you are doomed to be trapped in the form of a beast. Your reward for broaching this garden is to be my slave, a slave as beastly as I am. You have only a few hours of humanity left.
But that's not possible. There must be some way to break the enchantment. Spells always have a weakness somewhere.
The enchantment you are under is tied to my own. Or the sorceress left me a way out. But I'm afraid it was only her final bitter joke. You see, I need only find a maiden to join me here, to share my castle, my life, willingly. Take another look at me. You can't help but admire the hag's terrible cruelty and cunning.
I shall try to find such a maid, for Casima's sake.
Truly? How determined of you. I personally would not waste my last few hours as a man on an impossible errand. However, you may do as you please. I give you this token. It's my family ring, and the only heirloom I have left. If perchance you should if you think you have found a maid.
I shall give her this ring.
Yes, she must accept it of her own free will. By doing so, she accepts me. Not that you shall find anyone, mind you. Your time is short. Count the minutes on your fingers, while your fingers you have, pretty prince. Your master will await you.
Beast's castle seems forlorn and far from any human warmth. The gate has been firmly shut and latched. Beast doesn't seem to welcome Alexander's company right now. Alexander pulls out his magic map. Alexander feels a strange pulling sensation.
Good day, Prince Alexander.
How fare you, good merchant?
Thankfully, I fare better than my business. My shop is as silent as the moon these days.
Beast's ring is made of pure, heavy gold and bears an insignia possibly related to Beast's princely past. Alexander can't break Beast's spell. The ring needs to be given to a maiden. Alexander doesn't want to live with Beast forever. Somehow, Alexander just can't see the pawn shop owner and the Beast being a very good match.
Haven't I seen you somewhere before, sir?
No!
But I'm quite sure. Perhaps on some cliffs.
No!
Isle of the Beast?
No!
Dockside?
No! Leave me alone!
Not very friendly, is he? The old man is plainly not going to reveal anything to Alexander, and he doesn't seem receptive to any revelations that Alexander might have for him, at least not those put into words. The peppermint leaves are the color of dark emeralds. Alexander fingers a handful of peppermint leaves, releasing a strong smell of mint. Alexander decides to offer the old man some peppermint leaves.
Can I offer you some peppermint, sir?
Mint! Yum!
Looking at the serving girl reminds Alexander of the years he spent as a slave under the evil wizard Mananan. He wishes there were some way he could help her. She looks very shy and nervous as she tends her roses. The girl is too shy and fearful to talk to a stranger, especially a tall, handsome one such as Alexander. The girl would most likely be startled away if Alexander tried to reach out and touch her. Those old coins are not worth enough to do the serving girl any good. The red ribbon is too dear to Alexander's heart to be given away.
Excuse me, maid, but I have someone I'd like to tell you about.
Please, sir. I'm not allowed to talk to strangers.
The rose has a hue of the purest white. This rose feels unusually soft to Alexander. The rose smells sweet.
Pardon me, maid. I hope you don't think me forward, but I see that you like roses. I thought you might, perhaps, like a fresh white rose.
Alexander can see the conflict in the girl's pretty face as she fights between her distrust of him and her desire for the white rose. The rose wins.
Oh, I shouldn't, sir, but it is so lovely. I've never seen a rose of white. It looks so pale and delicate. Wherever did you find one of such a color?
There are many hedges of them on the Isle of the Beast, and they grow together like magic.
Oh, truly? What an adventure that must be to see them. But I should not speak so, especially to a stranger. Thank you for the rose, though, kind sir.
Do you live in this house, maid?
Well, my stepmother and her children live here. I live out back in the stables.
Your stepmother? Then you're not a... well, I thought you were,
A servant? I am, I suppose. You see, my mother died and my father remarried. He passed on shortly afterwards. My stepmother has no obligation to feed and clothe me. I only try to repay her for my upkeep as best I can.
I see. Is there anything I can do for you, maid? You look tired and hungry.
I'm just fine, sir.
Tell me, why do you not leave this place?
Where could I go? What would I do? Besides, I don't really mind the work, and I would miss my roses. I'm sorry, sir, but I don't want my stepmother to see me talking to you. She would be upset with me.
Would you have a use for this, maid?
No, thank you, kind sir. I wouldn't know what to do with that.
Alexander has a thought about the serving girl. He decides to bring up the subject of beast with her.
Let me tell you about the place where the white roses grow. The Isle of the Beast is an enchanted place. There's a path running through a deep forest. The path crosses 3 magic blockades, set to keep all visitors away. At the center lives a tremendous beast.
Really? Magic blockades? How exciting! What kind of a beast? Is it very terrifying and ferocious?
It is a beast that walks on 2 legs and dresses like a prince. It speaks with the voice of a man.
A beast that talks and wears clothes? How is that possible? Is the beast magic too?
Not magical. Enchanted. Beast was once a prince, but a witch trapped him in the form of a beast and set him on the island. There he lives in a castle in the midst of a maze.
How terrible! Imagine how lonely he must be.
It is a very lonely prospect, isn't it? Oh, I have met him, you see. He is indeed ferocious, but who would not be?
He really exists? Oh, how it breaks my heart. If I could, I would tend to such a beast. Such a beast might find comfort in a kind face. Do you not think it so?
Oh, I think it's so. I very much think it's so. You would not be afraid of him?
Afraid? Maybe at first. But how silly of me to speak so. The roses in this little yard are the only magic I will ever see.
I could take you there. In fact, I would owe you my life if you would go. If you truly wish to go.
You are serious? I could leave here? Oh, I have always dreamt of leaving. But to actually go... This is the only home I have ever known.
Home is a hard place to leave, even if you're unhappy there.
But I will go. If I can help him, I must go.
Is there nothing you wish to take with you?
There is nothing.
Then take this ring. It is his. He will be pleased if you would wear it.
Why, it's the most beautiful thing I have ever seen. Thank you kindly, sir.
Beauty! Where do you think you're going?
To a place where roses grow, and to someone who truly needs me.
I see you wear my ring. You willingly agreed to spend your life here with me? Do you know what that means?
Yes, my lord, I do. I have been touched by your story.
Pity alone need not sentence you to endure this face.
Oh, but it is a gentle face, and kind.
You look at me so sweetly and are not repulsed.
Oh, by the light of your eyes, my spirit soars! The enchantment! It is broken!
I am pleased to have served you, my lord. Do you still wish me to stay?
What? Speak not such nonsense, Beauty. Do you think that I learned nothing of true love during my time here? You are my queen.
Oh, my clothes! This gown!
How well it suits your noble heart.
Alexander, how can I ever repay you? I have nothing to offer except my gratitude. But please, take these old clothes. Perhaps you'll find someone in need during your travels.
You have already repaid me by your example of courage, Beauty, and by your friendship, I hope.
You will always have our friendship and loyalty, Prince Alexander. But from a fellow adventurer, take some advice. If you find your true love, protect her with your life. Fear all beasts without the redeeming humanity of love. And to aid you, accept my mirror. Now that my life is no longer hung in false shadows, I have no need for it. Give it to someone with nothing to fear from the truth it reveals.
Thank you. I wish you both well.
Come, Beauty. Let me take you home.
The path ends here at a small clearing. A gushing fountain dominates the clearing, and an iron gate leads off into a maze of hedges. In the distance, a castle stands out majestically against the sky. The hedge continues back towards the castle and forms what appears to be a maze. A fountain in the middle of the clearing bubbles with fresh, glittering water. An iron gate leads to a maze of hedges. Beast's Castle has a different, more welcoming air as the bridal home of Beauty and her prince. Alexander's voice only gets lost in the hedge maze and never reaches the castle. There's no one in the hedge maze to answer Alexander. The fountain gurgles thoughtlessly. Alexander can't reach the castle from here. Besides, he wasn't invited inside the gate. The gate has been firmly shut and latched. It looks like the prince and his beauty need some time alone. The hedge maze stands like a moat between the castle of the two new lovers and the rest of the world. Alexander has no desire to disturb them further. The fountain water is cool and clear. Alexander takes a magnificent white rose from the rose hedges. Alexander pulls out his magic map. Alexander feels a strange pulling sensation.